Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take a stack of dense sources, pull out the essential knowledge, and hand you the shortcut to being the most informed person in the room.
Today, we're focusing on a topic that hits every vehicle owner right in the pocketbook: maximizing your fuel efficiency.
Yeah, fuel is one of the biggest expenses.
Yeah.
And it often feels like there's nothing you can do about it.
Well, our mission for this deep dive is to change that. We're going to leverage some, surprisingly simple knowledge, not advanced mechanics, but smart, actionable choices.
And we're breaking it down into three areas, Rob.
Exactly. We're looking at how you drive, how you maintain the car itself, and what you actually put in the tank.
Okay, so by the end of this, the goal is what? Saving money.
It's three things, really: saving you significant money, improving your car's efficiency, and here's the big one: extending the life of your engine.
I like the sound of that. So we're starting with things you can do, like right now, then moving to the vehicle, and finally getting into the chemistry of fuel.
That's the plan. Let's start in the driver's seat, because that's where you have the most control. Your foot on the pedal is, well, it's everything.
Which leads right to the first big rule. Drive smoothly. We're talking about getting rid of those aggressive habits.
No harsh acceleration, no sudden braking.
Right, so if you see a red light way up ahead, you should be coasting, not, speeding up to it and then slamming on the brakes.
That rapid acceleration from a stop is the absolute enemy of fuel economy. When you floor it, you're just dumping fuel into the engine.
And the savings from just driving smoothly are they noticeable?
Oh, absolutely. Studies show drivers can see an immediate 10 to 15% improvement in efficiency. It's huge.
Wow. Okay, so being smooth also ties into speed. What's the sweet spot for fuel saving?
For most cars, you're looking at a cruising speed between about 45 and 65 miles per hour.
So around 70 to 105 kilometers per hour.
Exactly. That's where the engine and the gearing are really in their most efficient zone.
But what happens when you go faster? Like on the highway, people are doing 75, 80 all the time.
And that's where your efficiency just plummets. It all comes down to physics, really. Air resistance.
Drag.
Right. It increases exponentially, not in a straight line. So if you bump your speed up by 20%, the drag might increase by 40% or more.
So the engine is just working so much harder to push through the air. You're fighting a losing battle.
You are. Speaking of waste, let's talk about idling.
Oh yeah, sitting in a drive-thru, waiting for a train. It feels so harmless.
But you are literally burning money for no forward progress. The rule of thumb is this: if you're going to be stopped for more than a minute, just turn the engine off.
People worry about restarting, though. The wear and tear.
It's minor. It's so much less than the fuel you waste. And that old advice about warming up the car for 5 minutes in the winter?
Yeah, my dad used to swear by that.
Modern fuel-injected engines don't need it. The most efficient way to warm up the engine is to just start driving, but gently. It gets up to temperature much faster that way.
And all this connects to just planning your trip, right?
Yeah.
Avoiding that stop-and-go traffic in the first place.
That's the key. Stop and start driving is just terrible for efficiency. Every time you brake, you're turning your forward motion into wasted heat.
So using a traffic app or traveling at off-peak times isn't just about saving time, it's about saving a lot of fuel.
A ton of fuel. Now, let's shift from the driver to the machine itself. We've talked about drag at high speeds. How much do things on the outside of the car really matter?
You mean like a roof rack?
A roof rack, a cargo box, a bike rack, they disrupt the airflow massively.
And the impact is what?
It's not small. Those items, when they're not in use, should come off. They can increase your fuel consumption by 5 to 10% on the highway.
That's a huge penalty for something you're not even using.
It is. And, it might sound obsessive, but even keeping the car clean helps a little. Air flows more smoothly over a clean surface than one caked in mud.
Okay, every little bit helps. The other side of physics is weight. I feel like you're about to call me out for the junk in my trunk right now.
Well, it does take more energy to move a heavier object. Any extra unnecessary weight you're carrying around costs you fuel every time you accelerate.
So the tools, the sports gear, the dozen empty water bottles.
Exactly. If you can take 100 pounds of non-essential stuff out of your car, you will see a measurable boost in your efficiency.
So spring cleaning for your car is a real money saver. Okay, what about the only part of the car that actually touches the road? Tires.
Tires are a huge one, and this is where so many people fall short on maintenance.
You mean checking the pressure?
Yes. Underinflated tires increase rolling resistance. That's the friction with the road. It means your engine has to work so much harder just to move.
Because you should be checking your pressure, what, Monthly?
At least monthly. Don't just wait until they look low. And when you're buying new tires, there's something to look for.
What's that?
The EU Fuel Efficiency Rating. It's a simple A to G scale. A is the best, the most economical with the lowest rolling resistance.
So they might cost a bit more upfront,
Yeah.
but you save it back in fuel over time.
You usually do. And don't forget to rotate them regularly to keep the wear even.
Okay, so we've covered the outside. What about the inside? The engine's lifeblood, the motor oil?
Proper maintenance here is just non-negotiable. You have to use the correct grade of oil that your manufacturer recommends.
Using a thicker oil than you're supposed to is bad.
It is. It increases internal friction and just reduces your efficiency. Look for oils that say energy conserving on the label. They have friction-reducing additives.
And this all falls under the umbrella of regular tune-up, I guess.
It's fundamental. A clogged air filter starves the engine of air. A worn-out spark plug means you're not burning fuel completely. A properly tuned engine is an efficient engine. Simple as that.
All right, let's move on to our next big section.
Yeah.
What we actually put in the tank. We need to decode octane, premium fuel, all that stuff.
Yeah, let's start with the most misunderstood word at the pump. Octane.
People think it means power, right? More octane, more power.
That's the myth. It's completely misleading. Octane is simply a rating of the fuel's ability to resist knocking.
Okay, so what exactly is knocking or pinging? Why is it bad?
Knocking is basically uncontrolled combustion. The fuel ignites on its own from the heat and pressure in the cylinder before the spark plug fires.
So you get these two explosions fighting each other.
Exactly. It creates massive stress on the piston and can cause severe engine damage over time. Higher octane fuel just resists that spontaneous ignition better.
Which brings us to the big question. Most pumps have, 87 regular, 89 mid-grade, and then 91 or 93 premium. Should I be using premium?
Here is the absolute key takeaway. If your car is designed for regular 87 octane gas, putting premium in it will give you zero noticeable benefit.
No more power, no better mileage.
Nope. Your engine's computer isn't designed to take advantage of it. You are simply paying more for no reason.
But wait, don't the premium fuels have better cleaning agents and detergents? Isn't that better for the engine long term?
That's a great question, and another common myth. Most major brands now sell what's called top-tier gasoline at all octane levels. Top tier has all the detergents you need.
So just use top-tier regular gas if your car calls for it.
Exactly. Only use premium if your owner's manual for a high-performance engine specifically requires it to prevent that damaging knock.
That clears up a lot. Okay, what about ethanol? It's in almost all our fuel now.
It is. E10, which is 10% ethanol, is safe for pretty much any modern car.
But then you see E15.
Right. E15 is approved for vehicles from model year 2001 and newer, but you have to be careful when you get to the really high blends.
You're talking about E85.
I am. E85, which is 85% ethanol, is only for flex fuel vehicles, FFVs. Using it in a regular car can cause serious damage.
So ethanol is renewable, it boosts octane. What's the downside in terms of efficiency?
The trade-off is energy content. Ethanol has less energy per gallon than gasoline, so especially with something like E85, you'll see a noticeable drop in your miles per gallon.
Makes sense. And for our diesel drivers, what about biodiesel?
Blends like B5 and B20, that's 5 or 20% biodiesel, are generally safe for most modern diesel engines. They can even improve lubricity.
But there's a warning about B100, pure biodiesel.
Yes. Don't use B100 unless your engine manufacturer specifically says it's okay, or you could void your warranty. There are two issues.
What are they?
First, it's a great solvent, so it can clean out all the old gunk in your fuel tank and clog your fuel filter at first. And second, it can gel up in cold weather much more easily than regular diesel.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Okay, for our last segment, let's hit some advanced tactics and technology. Starting with the air conditioning, is it really a big fuel drain?
Oh yes, undeniably. The AC compressor puts a direct load on the engine. The engine has to burn more fuel to run it. It can cut your efficiency by up to 10%.
So what's the final verdict on the big debate? Windows down or AC on?
It all depends on your speed. At highway speeds, definitely close the windows and use the AC sparingly. The aerodynamic drag from open windows is worse for your mileage.
And at lower speeds in the city?
At lower speeds, say under 40 miles per hour, opening the windows is probably the more fuel-efficient choice.
Got it. What about start-stop technology that's in so many new cars?
It absolutely saves fuel. It completely eliminates that wasteful idling we talked about.
And the savings are real.
They are. You can see a 3 to 10% improvement in fuel economy, especially if you're in heavy city traffic. And don't worry, the starters and batteries in those cars are beefed up to handle it.
Okay, last thing. Hypermiling. It sounds really extreme, but are there safe techniques we can all use?
Yes. Hypermiling is just about maximizing efficiency. The safe techniques are things we've already covered. Smooth acceleration, maintaining a steady speed, ideally between 30 and 50 miles per hour, and anticipating traffic so you can coast to a stop.
And just doing those things can save a lot, right?
You can see savings of 20 to 40%, but we have to give a huge safety warning here.
Okay, what not to do?
Do not do the unsafe techniques. That means no tailgating or drafting behind trucks. It's incredibly dangerous. Don't drive way below the speed limit. And the most dangerous of all,
What's that?
never, ever turn off your engine while you're moving or coasting in neutral.
Right. Because you lose your power steering and your power brakes.
You turn your car into an unguided missile, it is not worth it. Safety always comes first.
So, if we bring this all together for everyone listening, it's really three things. Drive smarter and smoother. Keep your car meticulously maintained, especially the tires and oil. And use the right fuel for your car based on the manual, not on myths.
And remember that efficiency is also about longevity. Taking care of your engine this way helps you avoid expensive repairs down the road.
Okay, to leave you with one last thing to think about next time you're at the pump. We talked about how temperature affects things.
We did.
Well, fuel is sold by volume, not by energy. So to get the most energy for your money, fill up your tank when the fuel is densest.
Which means when it's colder.
Exactly. Fill up early in the morning or late at night. You're getting slightly more energy molecules for the same price. Go try it out on your next drive.
Drive smart, drive safe, and keep those costs down.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.
Please like, subscribe, and get notified.